If you're navigating uncertainty, this might be the most important work of your professional life. Because this isn't just a job search, it's a reckoning with who you are, what you want, and what you're willing to believe is possible next. You might be scrolling job boards, updating your LinkedIn, even doing all the right things, and still feeling stuck. Still wondering, why isn't anything working and what else can I do? That's because the missing pieces aren't just tactical. Often they're internal and relational. This part of the rebuild is about clearing what's getting in your way on the inside and reaching out to the right people on the outside with purpose, not panic. In this episode, we'll talk about how to break through internal blockers like shame, fear, and self doubt, and how to reconnect with people in ways that create real momentum. Not surface level networking, real conversations, real opportunities, real traction. Because the job may be what you're after, but the transformation is who you become along the way. So let's begin where most advice skips over: what's happening inside of you. First, we're going to work on breaking through internal blockers, and to do that, we're going to name it to navigate it. If you're doing the right things and still feel stuck, it's not because of a lack of ambition or discipline. It could be the silent grip of internal blockers. These aren't just negative thoughts. They're deep-rooted beliefs shaped by past experiences, cultural messaging, sometimes trauma, burnout, and sometimes even your own success. And if you don't learn to name them, they will quietly run the show, keeping you from applying, negotiating, or even imagining what's possible. And I'll tell you, this is one of the biggest challenges I see in the high achievers that I coach. So many are quietly carrying pain and trauma from previous employers or shame from previous moves that didn't work out the way that they had hoped. And then the fear and shame-based voices in their heads get even louder. Internal blockers often sound deceptively reasonable. It's not the right time, I'm not qualified enough, I need to be realistic. But underneath those statements is often fear of rejection, of being seen trying and not succeeding, fear of disappointing people or of making the wrong move. And for high achieving women, especially those who have been praised for being the stable one, the self-sufficient one, the fixer, asking for help or trying something new can feel threatening to that identity. So instead, you freeze. The first step is to name the blocker. Try completing the sentence: I want to do blank, but I'm afraid that blank. For example, I want to pivot into climate tech, but I'm afraid that I'll have to take a huge pay cut and start from scratch. Now that you've named it, you can work with it. Is that fear based on data or an assumption? What other paths might lead to that industry without the downsides you fear? Naming makes the invisible visible, and that, my friend, that gives you power. The second step is to normalize it. Most women don't talk about their blockers out loud. Listen to this. We compare our internal narratives to other people's highlight reels. Did you catch that? We compare the stories we tell ourselves with other people's carefully curated highlight reels. But so many women I coach, no matter how senior, after some deep work and when the filter is off, eventually utter some version of, what if this is as far as I can go? Or what if I'm not actually ready to be a fill in the blank, entrepreneur, SVP, CSO, CEO? These thoughts don't make you weak. They make you human. And when you say them out loud to a trusted friend, a coach, a therapist, or even into a voice note, you create room for new truths to emerge. Third, connect the blocker to your values. Sometimes fear is actually trying to protect something important. Fear of instability, for example, may be grounded in what you were taught or experienced with money as a child and may reflect your value of financial stewardship. I see this one a lot, and most people have never had the space and been guided to name it and recognize its impact on their decisions. Fear of loss of perceived prestige and outward perceptions of success may reflect your value of growth and significance. And man, I need to do an entire series about self worth, value, and the search for significance, but I will wait for another day to do that. Today, instead of pushing fear away, I invite you to ask, what is this fear trying to protect? And what else might honor that value? Because then this creates internal alignment and it opens up more possibilities. You don't need to silence the fear. You need to recognize it, examine it, sift out what's true, and then diffuse it. Finally, remember that mindset work isn't about pretending everything's fine. It's about building the capacity to act while things are hard. Create rituals that anchor you. A 5-minute daily check in. A question you ask yourself when stuck: what's the next smallest right move? Or a visual reminder that you're in progress. Breakthrough doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes a breakthrough looks like sending that email that you've been avoiding for 3 weeks. That's progress. That's personal leadership, and that is rebuilding. With your inner landscape more clear, it's time to connect outward, not just through posts or clicks, but real conversations. Relationships are how opportunities happen, but not all relationships are equal. So let's talk about building meaningful ones. During this journey, you want to build real connections, not just digital clout. In today's market, applying online without human connection can feel like shouting into a void. And unfortunately, the stats back that up. Most job offers don't come from cold applications. They come from referrals, inside connections, and relationships. But the idea of networking often feels cringy, especially if you're navigating shame, fatigue, or a sense of lost identity. You don't want to beg. You don't want to fake it. You just want meaningful conversations that lead to real opportunity. So let's reframe the whole thing. This isn't about networking for networking's sake. It's about building a career intimacy through values-aligned relationships that help you be seen, be remembered, and be recommended. And in a season of rebuilding, these relationships matter more than ever. Just for finding roles, but for regaining confidence, refining direction, and getting real-time insight into what's happening behind closed doors. Start with what some call your warm 20. Make a list of 20 people you already know. Former colleagues, mentors, clients, collaborators who've seen you in action. Reach out without pressure. Say something like, I'm in a season of exploring what's next, and I've always respected your insight. Would you be open to a quick reconnect? Then, when you meet, don't lead with an ask. Lead with your curiosity, your integrity, your vision. Conversations that start with authenticity create momentum. And then branch out. Think of each call as a bridge. End with, is there anyone else you think I should speak to? That's how networks grow, organically and with trust. You can also create a structure using a Notion board or a simple spreadsheet to track your outreach, your notes, and your follow-ups. Add columns like initial touch point, shared interests, next steps, value I offered. This supports your opportunity mapping. This isn't about collecting names, you're cultivating alignment. Real connection doesn't require social media, it requires curiosity, integrity, and time. Coffee chats, Zoom calls, small dinners, voice notes, even shared co-working time with a friend who's also in transition can spark ideas and clarity. Don't underestimate the power of one real conversation, especially when you're rebuilding. Being witnessed and mirrored by someone who sees your value is not just encouraging, it's catalytic. You are not meant to do this alone, and you don't have to. Okay, so we've covered some really important ground today. So let's bring it back down to brass tacks. 1, name what this season has shaken in you. Whether you're choosing to make a move or it chose you, transitions can rattle your identity and self-trust. Instead of powering through, pause to name what feels unsteady. Is it your confidence, your sense of relevance, your belief in what's possible? You can't rebuild without first acknowledging where you are. And then two, reconnect with evidence of who you are. Confidence isn't a mindset, it's a memory. Find the receipts, reread old reviews, revisit successful projects, call someone who's worked with you and ask what stood out. You're not starting from scratch. Remember, you're starting from experience. And experience still holds value, even in a new direction. And three, make a connection that's not transactional. Opportunities often come through relationships, but not when you're trying to get something from the other person. In fact, offer to do something for the other person. Choose one person to reach out to this week, not to pitch yourself, but to genuinely connect, understand what they're doing, and ask how you can help, and to share where you are, what you're exploring, and what kind of conversations you're looking to have. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's connection, and connection is what opens doors. This season might feel foggy, lonely, heavy, disoriented, and overwhelming. But don't confuse the fog for failure. Don't confuse the pause for irrelevance. You are still powerful, still capable, and still in motion. And the more intentional you are now, the more aligned your next move will be. Not just on paper, but in your gut. This isn't about rushing to fix your life. It's about rebuilding something better than what came before. And if you want help with that, if you're tired of Googling your way through this and want structure, support, and smart strategies designed for women like you, then I want to invite you to something special. You can grab my free, deeply actionable masterclass, Get Unstuck and Move Forward with Confidence. It's a powerful 30 minutes that gives you tools to reclaim your momentum and design your next chapter with intention. You can find the link in the description. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with another woman who might need it. The quiet strength of this community is what makes it powerful. Look, you're not doing this alone. And you're not behind. You're building with more wisdom, more clarity, and more intention than ever before. And I am rooting for you. Always. Until next time.